Hi, welcome to Cup of Chocolate. I'm Shoko. In each episode of this podcast, a friend and I will be chatting and discussing listener-submitted stories and gossip. So grab a cup and let's chat. La 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 la. Mama, 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 mama. All right, I am a little nasally, but this is the chocolate you're gonna get today. I've been sick, so let's do this. Hello, hello.
Hello.
All right, excellent. That was very smooth. Usually, I don't know, I struggle with technology, so it takes a minute, but that was very quick. How are you?
Excited to talk with you in real time.
Yes, this is actually the first time.
Yeah, in real time. Like we've had voice notes, but we've never actually like talked or
Yeah.
we text with each other, but to actually like hear your voice in real life is so exciting.
Yes, it is. I'm so happy to have you join us today, Millie.
Thank you for having me.
So, before we go further, I want to introduce you to the people, to the podcast. You are my favorite creative, Millie Hales. Mm-hmm.
That's so nice of you.
No, I love your work. I do want to talk about your artwork. I mean, it's not just your artwork though, because you do your nails, which I'm just like in awe at your skill. And this is all self-taught, right?
Yeah, I've been doing my own nails since I was in grade school, which we can get into if you want. But
Ooh.
I'm just an artistic person. So if I can do something myself, I usually um, just I don't know. I think it's nice to be able to express yourself in a bunch of different ways.
Absolutely. I'm on the same boat, except like I guess I half-ass things. Like I'm literally a jack of all trades, master of none. So
No,
I make
I think that some of the art that you've shown that you've done cool. I think that it's just more that you've decided to change the way. Like you have kids, so I can spend
mm,
2.5 hours doing my I don't get interrupted.
mhm.
It's just if I had kids, different thing, you know?
Definitely. That is true. I love your work. So to get back to your actual work, because the nails are not your work, that is your, your self, that's how you treat yourself. Um, please tell me about your artwork. I've seen a little bit
Yeah,
on the social medias, but yeah, tell me
yeah.
about it.
I root of it. I'm a painter. I started with painting,
Mm.
and I've been doing that since I was a kid. And as I've gotten older, I photography. Part of it is I have a food Instagram, and I just take a lot of pictures. I'm like that annoying friend that uh, pictures at parties. I'm always like at the end, people will be like, "Hey, can you send me the pictures you took?" Because I'm the only one that's like ready to take my camera out. A lot of photography, and with iPads now being used for art, I started doing a lot of like digital art, drawing digitally,
Mm.
taking some of my photos and drawing overlays on top of them, which is a
Yes, I love how
makes them
you
look,
do that. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it makes them look like cartoons or like comic books kind of, and I really like that style of art.
Mm. Yeah, I love how I've seen a few like you've done I've seen a few of your commissions for couples where you have like, their photo and then so the background is the photo, but then you have done your digital art uh over them and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's so cute.
Oh, thank
And
you.
are you
Yeah.
are you currently taking commissions? Is this something that's
Are
happening?
interested, absolutely. I would say art is my first love. Unfortunately, it's not how I pay my bills all the time, but
Hmm.
I am always open to commissions, and I do other work as well. I've drawn logos, I've drawn lots of things, and I can definitely give you my website. I folks resonate. I would love to work with them if they're interested.
Yeah. So I had you give me your handles and your website beforehand, so I could, plug this. So on
Perfect.
all socials, you are Hey Millie Hales. Let me spell that out. HeyMillieHales. No
That's
spaces, all
me.
lowercase. Yeah. And then your website is creativebymillie.com.
Yes, correct.
So if someone wants to check out your artwork, where is the best place uh to see your artwork, I guess?
Well, I think my most recent work is going to be on my website. I had a show at the end of
Mhm.
last year, and it's probably the most
Mm.
up-to-date pieces that I've got. But on my I also have a highlight of my art, and that goes deeper. It's got a couple of years of work. So just depending on how interested you are, you could really as well.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm gonna go back and do a little scrolling after we finish recording.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, of course. So today I wanted to try a little something different for the podcast. Up until now, I've been taking either submitted stories from listeners or I've been taking stories from Reddit and sharing them, and we're talking about it. But I wanted to try something a little bit new, uh, and because a lot of people enjoy this conversation part a little bit more
Hmm.
than the story itself. We do have, people love the stories too, but I wanted to try something different. And so, being that this episode is going to air during February, I thought it would be great to talk about, relationships and dating and stuff like that. Um, and I know you have some fun stories. Out of fun, maybe.
Some of them are
You
fun.
do have
Yeah.
stories. Yeah. Um, so before we get into like talking about, I guess the main topic of today will be dating apps. Oh, hi.
Sorry, my dog is a little barky. You might hear that.
That's okay. He's Rocky, right?
Yeah, his name is Rocky. And anytime I'm not paying attention, so I'm trying to keep him
I
occupied
totally
over
get
here.
it. Rocky has some words too, so we'll
Yes.
have Rocky add his input. Oh, I forgot. I'm sipping. So, before we start, do you have your drink?
I do. I did not make a hot latte, but a lemon Pellegrino, so over ice. So that's what I will
Ooh,
be sipping
that
on.
sounds amazing. It is noon here in Japan, and I'm not about to start drinking alcohol. So I have a cup of chamomile, a
Very
little
nice.
bit of tea. So are you ready for the synchronized sip?
Oh, I am ready.
Yes, here we go. Oh, that's good.
Wonderful.
All right. So, as I was saying, today's topic is basically going to be around dating apps. But before we start with that, I was thinking about what we're going to about today, and the whole topic of dating. It made me like reminisce about. I don't know if it was reminiscing though. Actually, it made me think about my first quote unquote boyfriend, which was in the fourth grade.
Oh,
Do you,
uh-huh.
um and like I was kind of I guess I was like a late bloomer. I was not interested in boys or dating or anything like that, even in the fourth grade. But it was like around that time that like the popular girls were like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." Da 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 da.
Right. You had the
And
social pressure to want
yeah,
one.
and like I was such not a loser, but I wasn't I definitely was not popular. I was super shy. And so I was like I was in the shadows and like I was comfy there. But then one day one of like the popular girls, I'll call her Jill. What Jill was like, "Oh, Shoko, like you should go out with I'll call him Rick." And basically like we were matched together. And
Hmm.
like and so like we I guess we quote unquote officially dated for like a month or so, but like it was just labels only because I was like, I don't even know who this guy is.
You didn't even interact?
I invited him to my birthday party.
Oh, that's something. But it's not like you were like talking to him at school or holding hands or anything like that.
No, definitely like no handhold. I mean, maybe like, hand holding once or twice, but it was just like, I would go up to him and be like, "Hi, Rick, we're dating." And then like I'd go off and do my own thing because I had like no interest whatsoever.
That's so funny. I'm the opposite. I am the opposite. My first like little boyfriend like that was in kindergarten, and his
Oh
name
my
was,
gosh.
yeah, early, right? And his name was John, and I'm from a really small town, and like
Mm.
I have interacted with this man as an adult. So that's a
Oh my
weird thing.
gosh.
But yeah, I remember getting in trouble for kissing on the school bus, kissing this boy when we were 5, which is
Oh
so
my
wild to me. And then when I got older, in second grade, I had a boyfriend named David Benson. I'm using full names, I'm not protecting anyone.
gosh.
Um, and David, what's funny about David is like he was he was like the most popular boy in class at that
Mhm.
time, and he was dating me and two of my best friends, and we all agreed that's what we were gonna do. We were like, all girlfriend, and he was just like, yeah, that's fine.
Oh my
So he had,
god.
yeah, but I mean, it was second grade. Like, I don't even think we held
Mhm.
hands. I think
Right.
it was a label thing as well. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of boyfriends in school. I got in trouble for talking to boys, and I would say I got in trouble for doing anything I shouldn't have, but I definitely was like, boys were disruptive, and I was boy
Mhm.
crazy. And I was
Ah!
motivated. Like, if boys were gonna be there, I would go to things like youth group. I only wanted to go to youth group because there were cute boys there. I
Oh my
didn't care at all
gosh.
about going to church or like any of the things I was supposed to be doing that my parents wanted me to do.
Mhm.
If boys were there, I would go.
I can picture. I mean, okay, so this image that I have in my brain right now though is like a little baby Millie, but you have all your tattoos. Like
Well,
little baby like second grade Millie with baby
yeah,
face on her forehead.
that's so funny. Obviously I didn't have them, but I always had
Mhm.
temporary tattoos. And it's like I have a picture of myself on my refrigerator. It's me and my sister,
Yes.
in this picture, and I'm probably in second or third grade, and I've got a temporary tattoo on, and I've got my nails done, and
Gosh.
you can just see who I'm becoming. Like it's just like a little like inkling of like, oh wow, yeah, that's already starting early.
Oh my gosh. I need to see that photo and I have to find my photo because legit I think it was second grade, either first or second grade picture day. I have a big giant spider temporary tattoo on my face.
On your face.
On my face. I don't know how my parents let me do that.
I
Um
mean, I'm guessing they didn't know it was picture day.
Yup. And so I have like this little like I have like the blunt bangs. I have like the very stereotypical like you know Japanese like little Asian girl cut, and I have this
Hmm.
massive purple spider on my cheek.
Oh
Um,
my
I'll
gosh,
have
I
to dig
love
it
that.
out.
Yes, I absolutely want to see this.
We would have been great friends
Oh, I think
in second.
so.
Okay, so how did you come about your first quote unquote boyfriends in
Um,
these
like in
grades?
school,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very outgoing, not shy person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had to wrangle it in. I had to figure out how to not scare boys away because I just liked people. I would bully them if I liked
Oh.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not like, I mean, that sounds awful. I wasn't like hurting anyone, but I definitely would
No.
like pick on boys that I liked.
Yes.
And yeah, they knew. It was not, I was not hiding it very well. What about you? Okay, you were set up. So what about when you got older? What about like middle school or high school?
Yeah. Okay. So, obviously, okay. So I know you from Threads, and like I'm pretty outgoing on Threads, I guess. I think we
Mm-hmm.
all are to a certain extent. But I kid you not, I was a completely different person in grade school. I was so like debilitatingly shy that my kindergarten teachers thought I was deaf.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you say that like it's shocking, and it is a little bit, but I don't feel like you being shy is shocking, only because when you tell stories about how you met your husband, and I know we could probably get into that when we get into dating apps, but when you tell the stories of like your first dates, you
Hmm.
were so awkward and shy that
Yes.
like, and that's you performing at top levels as an adult, right?
Yes.
So I can't imagine like
So
before
you
you
can
had social
imagine.
skills.
Yeah. So like I'm trying to think back. Obviously I didn't have many boyfriends in grade school just because I was never the person to like make the first move or,
Hmm.
um either so yeah, it was like either people would set me up and just be like, oh, you and this person should, be boyfriend and girlfriend. Or the other like, I mean, quote unquote major, because it wasn't like a real, boyfriend. But was in senior year of high school. Somehow the head, I guess, I mean, I don't know sports, so I don't know if this is like the right terminology, but the head defenseman of our football team.
Uh-huh.
Is there a head defenseman or is it just one
No.
guy?
Well, not head, I mean, there are linemen, so he was
Okay.
probably like one of the like main defensive linemen, but
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
no head. But there's like defensive coaches. That's a different thing. They're not students. But I
No,
get what
no,
you're
no. He
saying.
was he was
Yeah.
definitely a student. He was in my English class.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's probably like my most popular boyfriend. And
Hmm.
I guess he came up to me. He asked me out. Um but it's so funny because like I was super super shy and like I had no interest in being like part of the popular group, but then I started dating someone who was like, right in there. And eventually like I it just gave me so much anxiety. Like I hung out with him and his like, popular kids crew for a couple times, but then I was like, I'm so sorry, like legit, this is what I said. I was like, we are from different worlds, and I do not feel comfortable in your
Oh.
world.
That breaks my heart for you.
It was so hard because I was like, literally, I was like shaking like a chihuahua each time I had to hang out with these popular kids because I was like, I am so like out of my zone.
Yeah, and if with any of your own friends, that would be really
No,
uncomfortable. As a
yeah.
teenager, yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, he was pretty heartbroken. He was such a nice guy and I really liked his family. They were all super sweet. Like his sisters loved me. It was just I could, I'm not cut out for the popular crowd.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a place that was so small. I mean,
Mm.
I might have been popular. I knew everyone, but I
Mm.
wasn't in like a specific group. I was the kind of
Yeah.
person that like I had friends in a bunch of different groups. Um,
Hmm.
but my high school boyfriend for most of high school was he ended up being a fifth year senior, He was
Oh,
older than me, and
super
he was,
senior.
yeah, and he was getting kicked out all the time, and he was like a
Oh
class
no.
clown. We met at Hot Topic. We didn't meet at school, even though we went to the same school. So that was a weird thing, because we didn't have any of the same classes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a Hot Topic with my younger sister and ran into a boy that I knew from school, and he was there with this friend. And the friend was very, like, he just started like hitting on me. He was very interested in me. And I was like, how do I not know this guy?
Oh.
Um, but yeah, it turns out because we just like he was taking classes for like, you're barely gonna graduate, and I was taking like
Uh-huh.
AP
Yeah.
classes, you know.
Yup.
So anyway, he lived on a turkey farm. He was an interest. I'm also from a rural place, so that's not
Mm-mm.
super abnormal. But
No,
um,
just like the turkey farm in the city, you know.
yeah, casual turkey farm. Um, but yeah, he was a very. I like guys that are, I don't know, they challenge me, and he was really
Hmm.
outgoing and like an attention-seeking
Mm.
person, and that was fun for me. Like we were opposites. I was very put together, and he was like wreaking havoc on everything all the time.
I love it.
But my parents didn't like him. And I think
Hmm.
ultimately that's why we stopped dating, because I could
Mm.
tell like my parents just had a really low view of him as a person. And I think
Mm.
it's like not everyone excels academically, right? Some people
Right. Yeah.
are and their
Hmm.
strengths. He just wasn't like a book smart type guy. I think he ended up becoming a mechanic, and that makes sense to me. Like
Okay.
he was handsome.
Hmm.
Say that we were in high school,
Oh.
but but you know what I'm saying. Like I just think that
Yes.
like book learning and test taking was not his strength, and
Exactly. Which is not bad at all because I can't test well at all, but yeah, totally.
that makes sense if you have high levels of anxiety too. I feel like that's just
Oh,
something that
yes.
like bleeds in, you know? It makes sense. But that's not why
Yeah.
we're here today.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about dating apps.
Yes. Yes. So when did you start with the dating apps?
Well, I was late to
Do
the
you
dating
remember?
app game, so we should get that out
Mm.
of the way. I was married,
Yes.
and I
Mm.
met my husband in college. Like we were just
Mm-hmm.
my one of my coworkers was his roommate.
Mm.
I was married for quite a while, and I didn't start using dating apps until my late 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like a totally weird thing to me because I was used to meeting people in person, and that's not how anyone meets
Mm.
anymore.
Yes. Same here. I think because I'm trying to think of my timeline. I moved to Japan when I was 22, and up until then, like I've only okay, so there's only one app that I've tried. I've only tried Tinder, and that
Hmm.
was when I came to Japan. Before then, when I was in the States, it's either like I would meet, yeah, just like you said, like in person, either like a friend of a friend, or like at a party, or I was on the campus at UMass,
Hmm.
and like you just run into random people all the time. So yeah, I didn't try dating apps until I was 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how you met your husband, though,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So I
That's
only I only
interesting.
have like one story about a weird dating app experience, because my husband was not the weird
Not the weird story. Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say that's interesting to me because in the US, Tinder is so hookup centric.
Yes.
And I know sometimes people get long-term relationships out of it, but
Hmm.
I think if one of my friends were to download Tinder, I would be like, I hope your plan is to hook up with people because if you're wanting something more long term, that's not the app I would use. But in
Exactly.
Japan, that's different,
um at least okay, so we're talking about oh my god, like almost 10 years ago.
right?
So
Yeah, I guess I should
at
think about that.
Right, right. So at this point, I knew that in the States, it was already very established as a hookup app. And so that's why I never used it in the States. Um, because I wasn't looking to hook up,
Well,
um
and we could just make it clear it's really not hard to find a dick. Like,
yes.
as 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 a woman, like female presenting person, I'm sure you agree. If you want to have sex, it's very not hard to do.
You just blink at
So,
someone.
yeah, I literally, I think that like knowing
Yes.
that, yeah. Anyway, going on.
Yeah, yeah. And so like in Japan, at this point, the I think back in like so nowadays we do have many dating apps in like Japanese dating apps as well. Tinder is still pretty popular, but back then it was a little bit more. I don't want to say like innocent, but basically like I don't want to say Japanese people are innocent because I don't want to stereotype, but it was less of like a hookup kind of thing. Like, I mean, yes,
Sure.
people are hooking up, and I think a lot more foreigners were using Tinder in Japan.
That
So
makes sense.
so it was easy to weed out the people who were just looking for hookups because you could tell when a Japanese person just wants to hook up with, a quote unquote exotic white person.
Right. Right. Exotic, and I'm thinking of like the most generic blonde, blue-eyed person.
Exactly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, yeah. So I guess okay, this is a great segue into my weird dating app experience. So I did have like conversations with a few guys when I started Tinder. I started Tinder because sorry, my throat is like you know acting up. I started Tinder because at the point I was back at a four-year program at an art school, but I was already 23. So I'm like older than like the grad students, right?
Right.
So all my class, but I started like as a freshman, a 23-year-old freshman.
Right. So
Um,
you've got 4 years of school ahead of you, and you don't want to
yeah,
date your classmates.
exactly. Because my classmates are all freshly 18. They're my younger brother age. Like I don't want to deal with that. Also, like I don't know about you, but like artist boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Uh,
they're sensitive, and then there can be maybe too sensitive. Is
yeah.
that?
They're
Yeah.
they're either like they swing on either they're super sensitive or they're super pretentious.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
And so I was hanging out with like the professors. Like that's where I was at. I was like cuz my classmates wouldn't go drinking, even though like no one cards here, like they wouldn't go drinking. So I'm out drinking with the professors, but I don't want to date professors, obviously.
Right.
So I was like, I need a way to find, at least get a drink with someone uh, who is my age, but also not an art student. um, and so I started the Tinder because I was like, you know what? It's okay if it's just a hookup, like things can come of that as well. And so I started with the Tinder, and this one guy that I had 3 dinners with because I was trying to figure out. Now this goes back to like the motive of using Tinder in Japan. I was trying to figure out if he was like actually looking for just like a regular friend or someone to like go out with.
Hmm.
Because we did have 3 dinners together. Like he would invite me, but then like between the dates or whatever, like he was terrible at responding.
So definitely like mixed signals. Like you seemed
Yeah,
like he didn't like you.
right, right. And so I couldn't tell because, you know, I would be like, okay, I'm not gonna, text him back. But then 3 days later, he'd text and he'd be like, when are you free next time? So I was like, oh, okay. I guess he's interested in me because he can, he keeps asking me out. So we went
Hmm.
on 3 dinner dates. Not once did he try to hold my hand.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and I think it was the end of the third. dinner date. Like we were saying goodbye, and like we were both pretty drunk. We've been drinking, and so I go in for like a hug, just a hug, and he froze up. Like he couldn't give me a hug back, not even like a half hug. It was the most awkward thing.
Yeah, that's super weird.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? Okay, I don't think this guy is like actually into me. Like, maybe he is actually looking for a friend. Um, and so I let it be, and but he would like still text me randomly, and so I was just like, so back then, I'm sorry, my timeline is all messed up, but so back then, like I would travel to the States, back to my parents' house, every summer. So I told him like, oh yeah, I'm going back to Boston soon, and then he was like, oh, can I come with you?
What? And you're
And
like, but you can't even handle touching me.
right, right. So I was like, okay, so this is gonna be the ultimate litmus test. If he's gonna come, you know, visit me in Boston, I asked my parents if he could stay, at our house because we have guest rooms. And my parents are like, I don't know, they're really chill. And so they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. They probably want to like see who I was hanging out with more than like,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
Um, so I go to Boston, and then this guy, like a couple days later or something, he shows up, um, but still like no hand holding, nothing. Like he just wants to check out like the antique shops for some reason.
And we're sure this man was straight?
See, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So he was from Osaka. And let me tell you about like Osaka, like culture, because it's a little
Yes,
bit different
please.
from like other areas of Japan. But Osaka is like, people from Osaka are like, they love the jokes, they are very outgoing. Um, they're kind of like the party people. Now, people in Kyoto are very like old fashioned. I mean, this isn't everyone, obviously, but a general uh, stereotype. And so
Sure.
when I was first doing the Tinder thing, I was thinking, okay, if I meet people in Osaka, or people who are from Osaka, then I think we will like vibe better, because they'll be closer to what how like Americans vibe.
Mm.
And so I was thinking, okay, if I'm in terms of relationships, I'm very, you know, I'm needy. I like the affection, and so I thought, okay, someone from Osaka was gonna give me that sooner than someone from Kyoto.
Sure.
But I was wrong. And this guy, he was super buff. He was like, I think during the time that he visited me in Boston, he only drank like protein shakes.
Oh,
Yeah, like
for
he's
like for
very,
several days?
like, for a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think he was like, I mean, he did have like other food as well. Like I took him to have a proper, Boston lobster.
Oh, good. Of
Of
course.
course. Um, but like he was very buff. He works out all the time. So I thought, okay, buff guy, straight guy. But I think he may have been gay.
I mean, the antique shops, when you said antique shops, it's like maybe he was gay but didn't realize or was not okay with it himself, like had just
Mm,
internalized or buried it so deep that he was determined to be straight. Because, like, why wouldn't he want to touch you? Why
right.
wouldn't there be like a drive for physical connection?
Exactly.
Not that people, I don't want to stereotype, antiques are not gay, but men that love antiques are
No, yes.
sometimes gay.
Yes. And like
Yeah.
I guess also like in Japan, like, people obsess like over many things. Like people have like intense hobbies. So like antiquing is a huge hobby for a lot
Okay.
of people, I
Okay.
think. So collectors, people, I think Japanese people are collectors.
That
Um
makes sense.
yeah. Uh but yeah, so like I think, on the third day, like I took him for lobster, and I just realized, like, this is, the litmus test is finished. Like, this is done. I faked a stomach ache, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't take you around anymore. Can you just find your way around? And he was like, yeah, it's okay. And so I, for the rest, I guess it was like, 2 more days that he was staying at our house. But he went on his own, and we took him to the airport because he was going to New York next. He wanted to check out New York. So I was like, bye. And then I never
Sure.
texted him again. Ghosted him after that.
It's wild to me. Like, I would never go meet someone's parents after 3 days in any
Mm,
circumstances that I can imagine.
right.
Like, let alone flying from a different continent.
Exactly.
That's so wild.
So yeah, that was my only other, like, experience dating
Yeah.
through Tinder.
Well,
And
I
then,
have
yeah.
lots.
Yes, let's hear
I
let's
have
hear your
many.
story.
Um, well, first I want to say Tinder in the US,
Hmm.
like, it used to not have limitations that it does now. So I'm
Hmm.
not currently on Tinder. Like, I
Hmm.
don't have a profile, but I have used it as recently as like this last summer. So
Hmm.
maybe 6 months ago. There used to be no limits on swiping, so you could just swipe
Mm.
right infinitely.
Yeah.
So when I was first single after my marriage, I went down to Eugene and hung out with my friend
Hmm.
Christy, who was also single. Now she's a mom, but she was not a mom at the time. And we would go on Tinder, we'd be at a bar, and we would literally just swipe right on everyone
Oh my
and
God.
just keep swiping and get as many matches as we could in like, 15 minutes. And then just start inviting them, like all the guys, to the bar we were at.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I mean, if you swipe enough and you invite enough people, you'll have 4 or 5 guys show up. And then you will not pay for drinks all night long.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I do not do things like that anymore. But for more life tips, follow Millie in her 20s because she was not a great person.
Wait, did any drama, like, come of this? Like, so you have
I
like four or
mean,
five guys show up, right?
yeah, they usually like I wouldn't say there was drama, but
Mm-hmm.
usually they would start to talk amongst themselves and then be like, "Oh, why are you here? Oh, you also know Millie. Oh, cool. Yeah, I met her on Tinder too." And then they'd start to realize like, "Oh, she's not just talking to me. She invited." But I mean, at the time I was living in Portland. I was just visiting Eugene, so they
Mm-hmm.
kind of knew like we're just hanging out tonight anyway. I'm not
Right,
trying to
right.
be with any of you. But yeah, that's a fun thing. I've also done worse things where like here in Portland, I by myself would just invite multiple guys to a bar, and then it was like my own version of The Bachelorette. Um,
Oh my God.
where where I'd just be like, this guy's not very fun. Let's move on without this guy. And we'd like one night, I literally just did like a little bar crawl in the neighborhood I lived in, and as I moved bars, I would just eliminate people that I didn't want to keep hanging out with,
How do you eliminate them?
just by telling them this guy's not very fun. Let's all go without this guy, and then we would
Oh,
move on.
oh my God. Wait, did you
So
tell that guy that he was not invited to the next bar? Or do you just like,
yeah.
oh,
No, like I mean, this was like a group, like we're all sitting at a table together.
oh my gosh.
And yeah, to his face.
Ah.
So when I'm drinking, I can be kind of ruthless. I'm also a sober human being right now. Like
Hmm.
I haven't had alcohol since October.
Mm.
But when I drink, it's like a honesty serum that I don't think the world is ready for. And
Oh my gosh.
I have some friends. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like mean
Mm.
necessarily, but it can be mean. But
Hmm.
I have some friends that will tell you like they live for when I drink, and then I just start roasting people.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and I'm really comfortable with just being like, I don't like this right now. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And say things I would never say to someone's face sober. I just like feel comfortable just not being a nice person when I'm drunk. So
That's hilarious. But
yeah.
see, now that is the energy I needed when this guy came to Boston. Before this guy came to Boston.
Yeah, I can't imagine having someone like go to your house when you don't know them that well. That's so strange to me.
Yeah, it's strange to me too. Now that I think about it.
For sure. But yeah,
Uh,
one thing I wanted to talk about,
mm,
which I know you said you've only tried Tinder. You might know
mm,
this just from other friends. I feel
yeah.
like there are categories for the different apps and what they're for, right?
Ooh, let's talk
So,
about that because I am not aware of
okay.
what the dating world is like right now.
Well, this is just my take on it.
Mhm.
So, for anyone listening, assuming most of you are from the Threads universe, like,
Mhm.
please take this with a grain of salt because it's just my experience,
Mm.
and I'm sure other people have their own. And it might be, so I live in Portland,
Mm.
Oregon.
Oh,
I don't
true.
know what apps people use everywhere else,
Mhm.
but in this area, there are some people that still use OkCupid, and there are some
Mhm.
people that still use Plenty of Fish. And I would
Oh,
say
that still exists.
yeah. And
Oh.
Plenty of Fish looks like Craigslist still. It's
Oh my
like a
god.
very, like, they haven't updated anything. And I think the people that use both of those apps tend to not be super tech savvy. So you're getting
Mhm.
folks that like either are a little older, like
Mhm.
Gen X, maybe some younger boomers,
Mhm.
and you're getting folks who maybe have not really had computer jobs. So like people who
Mhm.
have done like a lot of warehouse work or construction, or like they just haven't spent a lot of time in an office, and
Mhm.
it's an ease, like it's a simpler thing to use and you don't have to fill out as many boxes and whatever. So I think that those two, they're like phasing out, right? But
Right.
they still exist. And
Mm.
also I'm pretty sure OkCupid is owned by Match.com, who also owns like I think Tinder and Bumble, and like
Oh.
similar to like any other big conglomerate in the US where they own multiple market share.
Right.
Yeah, I think Match.com owns like a good chunk of the apps, which is interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I have used both of those, but I wouldn't say recently.
Mhm.
The kind of matches I'm looking for have to be more tech savvy than being able to use Craigslist. So
Right.
really the ones for me.
No.
But I did use OkCupid, or I tried to use it a little bit around the time that I met my husband. I didn't meet
Mhm.
him that way, but I did
Mhm.
dabble back in the day. And I liked that site because it had quizzes. So you could like answer questions about yourself and take quizzes, and that helped with like your compatibility
Oh.
information, which was interesting. I don't know how scientific it was, but like
Right.
it felt like a sociology study or
Mm.
something. Um, but yeah, other apps. So I would say we talked about Tinder.
Mhm.
Tinder is very much a hookup app. I have met some friends who have had relationships from it, but
Mhm.
like I think it's just kind of known as the hookup app.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
if I'm gonna use any app though, if I just like get bored and decide to download one, that's the one I use. I don't know what
Mm.
that says about me. You can draw your own conclusions. Next app. There's Bumble. There's
Mhm.
Bumble, and then there's Hinge. I
Mm.
think that Bumble is horrible. This is my opinion only, but
Okay.
I hate it. I hate it for a couple of reasons. The
Mm.
first thing is that empowering because women message first. So like if you both match, the
Mhm.
man can't initiate the conversation like they can on Tinder. Only the woman can
Oh.
initiate the conversation. And if you don't talk within 24 hours, you unmatch, like it goes away.
Oh, interesting.
Which that all sounds well and good. The app is to empower women. Why does Bumble allow you to send photos? And why is every photo a dick pic?
Oh no.
Tinder doesn't let you send photos. Hinge doesn't let you send photos because they know guys will just send their dicks. They will send the
Oh.
dick. But for whatever reason, Bumble, they're like, that's what women want, right? Pictures?
Bumble
So
fumble.
I'm not a big fan of that one. And then Hinge seems okay. Hinge
Mm-hmm.
is the one that's marketed for people to want to have relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I have had some success with Hinge. I've gone on dates with guys that weren't like complete trash and like
Mm-hmm.
they were there because they wanted a relationship and they were in the right spot for it, you know?
Right.
Um, I think that if anyone on Tinder tells you they want a relationship, they probably have a couple baby mamas and
Run
like
for the hills.
yeah, it's just a different situation. On Hinge,
Yeah.
like if he's saying he wants a relationship, he probably means it.
Okay.
Um, so if you're looking for hookups, that's not the one for you. It's a little bit more like people are trying to lock each other down. I
Mm.
also think Hinge, though, I see a lot more, and this could be my age too.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot more like single parents, a lot more people that like have, you know, greater responsibilities than maybe some of the other apps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more like that's the settling down one, you know?
Interesting.
Not settling, but like settling
Mm.
down.
Right.
Yeah. I'm on a different app altogether. The only
Mm-hmm.
app I'm on right now is called The League, and it is an app that you either pay to join or there's like a wait list. You can't just sign
Oh.
up for it.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, this summer I broke up with someone that I had been seeing on and off for like a year, and
Mm-hmm.
he lived in a different city. So I
Mm.
wasn't dating. I met him on Tinder though, and
Mm.
that was only supposed to be a hookup. And then after I had sex with him, we just kept hooking up. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's a whole nother, that's we would need another episode for that story.
Yes.
But
We'll save
but
that for next time.
yeah. But when we broke up, I had like, you know, a holding period where I didn't want to see
Mm.
anyone. And then I got bored and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to try all the apps. So this summer, I literally downloaded everything
Oh my
and I
gosh.
tried them all out. And some of them I only did for like half a day and I was like, never
Mm-hmm.
mind. Like Plenty of Fish. I was like, this is
Right.
garbage.
Yeah.
I tried for a little bit. But the league I signed up for, I didn't want to pay for any apps. Um,
Mm.
and I was unwilling to wait, so I just deleted the app. Like I signed up for it, got put on the wait
Mm.
list, and then deleted the app from my phone.
Yeah.
Then in like November of this year, I got an email being like, "You're finally in." Like I was off the wait list and they put me in.
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, well, I should probably re-download this app now and like see what's going on." So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've been using recently. The guy that I dated most recently and like guys I've been talking to have been through that app.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, it's sports themed,
Oh, interesting.
the league. So you get
So,
like a
okay.
coach when you sign up, and um, everything is like a sports metaphor. I don't know if I love that, but I don't hate
Mm-hmm.
it.
That's very interesting. I feel like that's kind of marketed for the masculine. I wonder.
It is. It is. It's very much like it feels like the LinkedIn of dating apps.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like a man in a suit in a dating app. I
Oh,
don't
that's
mind it.
interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm getting a higher caliber of match. Like, I think the guys that
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to, most of them own their own homes. They have high-paying
Oh.
jobs.
Mm.
They are paying to be on this app. They like the
Ah.
sports metaphors because they're former athletes or they are
Mm-hmm.
coaches or so that's been an interesting thing. I think that I'm getting higher quality matches, but I have less of
Mm-hmm.
them. And they move slower. No one on this app is like, let's go get a drink. They're like asking me questions and trying to talk to me for a while, which is
That's
interesting.
refreshing.
Yeah, it feels like genuine connection in a way, even though you're still
Yeah.
meeting through an app.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I have never heard of the league. All right, we are back.
We're back.
Yay! What was I saying? Okay, so I have never heard of the league before.
Yeah, it was one I hadn't heard of until this summer when I went on my massive downloading rampage.
Hmm.
Um, but I like it. I do feel like it's just a higher quality match for me so far.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll see if anything comes of it.
Yes, and then we'll have to have you back on the show for a little update, maybe.
I mean, that would be fun. Um, I hope that I have a good update at some point. It's either that or I'm trying to meet men at the gym. I'm on a quest to
Ah,
do that
yes.
as well. But I did want to tell you about a time that, well, I guess we did this a couple times. I had this friend, Lissa,
Mm-hmm.
who we were single at the same time, and we used to meet guys on Tinder, and then we would schedule our dates at the same bar
Mm-hmm.
at the same time and just act like we bumped into each other.
Oh my gosh.
And that way we could have double dates without the boys knowing that they were going on a double date.
Ah, I like this kind of.
Yeah, it involves a lot of deception, but we were fine with that. Um, but it would be like I'd be like, "Hey, yeah, I was thinking about going and getting a drink tomorrow at blah blah blah," and the guy would be like, "Oh, yeah, cool, I'll meet you there." And my friend would do the same thing. So then, like, I'd be on the patio and she'd be inside, and we would just bump into each other and be like, "Oh my gosh, well, we do come here all the time. It makes sense we would both pick this place." And then we would just, like, invite one to join the other, and all of a sudden we'd have a table of four. And that way we got to hang out together, but also got to have dates.
I love it.
It was fun. And I don't know that any of them really led to any lasting relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I feel like, especially with Tinder, but with a lot of those apps, there's a pressure to hook up on the first date, or
Yes.
maybe not an expectation, but like I think the idea is kind of floating in the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it felt less like that when we were hanging out together or like in a group.
That's a really good point. Yeah, yeah. There is a
It
lot
put
of
that pressure
pressure.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, when you're one on one. And also, I think people are very different. When not when performing. I don't know if performing is the word, but like when they're performing in front of other people, not just a one person that you're trying to impress.
exactly. Yeah. It was a maneuver we were okay with. And
Mm,
anyone listening, like, if you want to steal this move, just you have to play it off like you go there all the time and just you bumped into each other. Like,
yes, you
oh,
gotta.
of course you would pick this place because that's where I go. Yeah.
You gotta practice your acting skills.
Yes, just a little bit. But the rest of it, I mean, I feel like there's times like that where is that like a bad thing to lie about? I don't know. It felt safe. We weren't doing anything that hurt them, but we were
Right.
yeah.
But I think so. That's okay. That's another segue for our conversation. Dating etiquette nowadays. Like
Sure.
I feel like, especially because dating has become so online, and you know, I think what you're doing is okay. Because you do. There's like a safety issue, so you got to protect yourself. And I think
Right.
if someone really gets upset about that deception on a first time meeting in person kind of thing, I think that's your red flag there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. The only time it feels maybe unfair is if you're dating someone who is really anxious or shy,
Mm,
putting them on the spot when they like and I
that's
think you
true.
have to read the room, right? So like
Yes.
I, I'm a really outgoing person. I tend to date people who maybe are a little bit more introverted because I don't realize they're introverted. I just start talking to them.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
this,
Mm.
like the guy I married. So the
Mm-hmm.
guy I was married to is extremely shy. And I met him because I would go to parties at his house because I was
Mm.
friends with his roommates. And he lived in a house with like a bunch of people. It was a party house. So I just started talking to him and treated him like he was my friend, even though I didn't really know him. And then later in life, I would like take him around my friends and I didn't understand why he would clam up. And he had explained to me
Mm.
he was a shy person and that I just overlooked that fact. So I think depending on the situation, if you've been talking to someone for a few weeks and it's your first meeting,
Hmm.
they're not outgoing and they're not going to be chill. It's not really fair to put them in a situation
Right.
like that.
Right.
But I think, I mean, we were it was Tinder. These were people we had just started talking with maybe that same day.
Right.
Like it was not anything that deep.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that makes total sense. And I think, I mean, I don't know about how open shy people are when they're dating, but I think, well, I don't know. Okay, I have no experience actually. Do you think people are, are they upfront about how shy they are and stuff like that?
Oh, I think they usually are. I
Mm.
mean, I think if you meet someone online and they're an introverted person, they'll tell you, or you can tell in talking with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I met someone at the beginning of COVID, and when we first
Mm.
started talking, he was like, "Yeah, this lockdown isn't really affecting me because this is like my normal life." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, so you are an
Mm.
introverted person. Staying home and playing video games, working from home, doing school from home, those are all normal to you."
Mm.
And I was going crazy because I was used to being social all the time. And I,
Right.
like, at the beginning of COVID, I worked at the library in person. So it was
Mm.
very weird for me to then be locked in my home with no one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. I think you can tell, but I think if it's a hookup culture thing and you're just swiping and you're planning on meeting right away, then
Mm.
it's safer to go with a friend. And if you don't have a friend that's also dating, it's not a bad idea to have your friend like go to the restaurant with you and just sit at a different table. And,
True.
if you don't feel safe, you can leave, or if you're having a good time, they can leave. But there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. I don't think that, like, I wouldn't call that being deceptive.
No, no, I agree. I don't think that's deceptive is not the right word.
But I mean, I could also see why someone would be uncomfortable with that. I think you just got to do what feels right with you.
True, true.
Etiquette is interesting in dating in general because I don't know that anyone knows what we're doing with online dating. I think we're all just trying to do it right.
Yeah, I think.
You know, like I've gone on a lot of online dates,
Mm-hmm.
and I always plan on hugging the guy when I get there. And if
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't seem like he wants to, then I don't. But like,
Mm.
are you supposed to do that? A handshake seems really formal. It's not a
Yeah.
business date, right?
Yeah, I would feel like if I was going on a date and like I don't expect a kiss, and sometimes a kiss would be too forward on the first time like meeting in person.
Mm-hmm.
Um I'm um I say that, and like obviously I met my husband on Tinder and we did more than just a kiss, but
Well, I think if you are vibing with someone,
yes.
I expect a kiss at the end.
Yes.
If it's going well and I can tell we're both feeling each other, I
Hmm.
expect a kiss. And if he doesn't kiss me, then I assume, oh, I was feeling it, but he wasn't, and he didn't want
Yeah,
to be friends.
absolutely.
So then it's like I don't get upset about that. I don't feel like it's rejection. I just feel like you don't vibe with everyone, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and I know one of our fellow Threads contemporaries, Swole Poppy, had posted something about. I think he posted a poll asking about, do you kiss on the first date, or like do you expect a kiss on
Yes.
the first date?
Mm.
And I wouldn't say I expect it, but I do use it as like one of the things I am looking at to determine whether the guy's interested in me or not, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So like,
absolutely.
does he walk me to my car or my
Hmm.
house, or like whatever, however this date is concluding? Does he walk me back to the thing? Does he kiss me goodnight? Is he trying to set up another date with me? Like those are all indicators that like he's interested in seeing me again,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
I've had guys not kiss me and we've ended up being friends. Like I think it's okay
Mm.
to acknowledge like maybe we had a good chemistry because we had similar senses of humor, but when we got
Hmm.
together in person, there wasn't really a physical chemistry, you know?
Right. Right.
And if that happens, like I don't know, I think it's important to not take those things personally. I've heard like when Swole Poppy posted that,
Mm.
um, I think there were women that said a similar thing, that they expected to have, a kiss on the first date, and they took it as rejection if they don't get it.
Hmm.
And he said that's the problem he runs into, where he likes girls but he's not kissing them.
Right.
I just think that like you can't take it as rejection. Not everyone feels upfront
Exactly.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that poll, and I think I'm pretty sure I voted that like it was not a deal breaker, because there are other ways to show your interest and in a respectful way.
Yes. And I think if someone didn't kiss me, I wouldn't automatically friend zone them, right?
Mm,
I would just,
mm-mm.
I would be thinking like, oh, that's weird. I thought we were vibing.
Yeah.
But if he asked me out on another date, I would assume he had a good time. Maybe he
Yeah.
just didn't feel like brave enough or like it was the right moment to kiss.
Right. I think a hug is a very good like litmus test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I hug at the beginning of the date, but like
Oh,
a side,
interesting.
a Christian side hug. You
Mm-mm.
know, like the like.
Christian side hug.
Do you know the video I'm talking about?
I don't think I do.
There is a video. I'll send it to you when we're done
Yes,
recording.
please.
And it's this song that like it's a Christian rap that some church made up and they put it on YouTube back when YouTube first launched.
Oh
And
my
it went viral and it's a song, that Christian side hug. Give me that Christian side hug. I'm filled with God's love. It's
Ah.
amazing. And it's all just about how like, you know, hugging directly front to front is too much contact, but side hugs are safe and okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's totally aimed at teenagers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So you get the hug, but he pats you on the back. How do you feel about that?
I'm a patter too.
Are you?
I pat or I rub. I'm not a
Oh,
stagnant
interesting.
hugger. I'm moving the hands. So that means nothing to me. I just assume that people are
Oh,
either like, I do it because I don't want to hug anyone too long.
yeah.
So if you're moving your hand or like doing a pat, it's
Mhm.
kind of like you can escape at any time. I'm not holding you here. I'm just gently like doing a hug, you know?
I
Um,
see.
and I think it's because I hug people. Like I'm in human resources. I guess I
Mm-hmm.
should say that. I hug people at work sometimes when it's appropriate.
Yes.
And I'm just very cognizant of like, you know, I don't want to like touch someone, make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very like two arms can be
Mm-hmm.
really, especially if you're meeting someone for the first time, two
Mm-hmm.
arms can make someone feel trapped. You could trigger them depending on, you
Oh,
know, what
true.
they've been through in their life.
Yes.
So I think it's just important to be like respectful of that and
Mm-hmm.
whoever they are. My dog is very much wanting my attention right now. He's playing with me so hard.
Rocky, what do you think? What's
Rocky,
your opinion, Rocky?
how do you feel about dating? He's like, what? Are they talking to me?
I don't
He's
have
very
balls.
cute. I feel like if he wasn't so rude, he would have a little dog girlfriend. But
Oh,
he
is
just
he a
like,
rude boy?
he's mean. He doesn't like other dogs.
Oh.
There's another wiener dog that lives here that has long fur, and the owner always tries to bring it over to like get them to greet each other, and he wants
Yes.
nothing to do with it.
Oh, Rocky.
Yeah. So we might just be single together, and that's fine with me.
Oh, yes. You
We have
guys
each
have each
other.
other. Yeah, so back to the hug thing. I mean, so I am an anxious overthinker, as we know. And so if someone gave me a pat hug, that would mean like no interest, just friends. If it was like a little back rub, I think it's like more it could be like there is potential. If it's like, you know, a two arm like squeeze, then I think it's like, you know, more suggestive.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, then you have the possibility of like your boobs are touching them. There
Oh,
could be
yes.
like genital to genital grazing. Like, well, like I mean, if you do a full contact front hug, like that's
This is
intimate.
true. That is true. That is very true.
Yeah. I mean, because even when I hug people, usually you like lean over a little bit, right? So
Mm-hmm,
you're
mm-hmm.
pushing your butt away from them.
Yeah.
But like in a romantic hug, you don't really do that.
No.
And so like if someone really pulls you close, that's intimate for a first date. I think that's more intimate than like a kiss on like a little peck on the lips versus like a full
Mm-hmm.
frontal hug.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I am much more inclined to do a quick little kiss than a full frontal hug on a first date.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm not trying to get him like hard through the pants on the first.
Too soon.
I'd feel guilty. Be like, go home on your own and deal with that. I'm not here for that today.
That is true. Are you a cheek kisser?
Like,
I
do I
wonder if,
kiss on the cheek?
like, like how people do like the double kiss when they greet people.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not European enough for that. I feel like I'm from rural Oregon. We don't do that here.
Interesting, because I was gonna say that maybe like because I would not be comfortable like with a peck, first date, unless like the date was going really well. But I would think like if someone is like culturally they're very comfortable with like the cheek kisses, then maybe that's also like like okay zone, green zone.
I mean, if a man kissed me on the cheek or on the what about on the forehead if it's someone you're not already in a relationship with?
Oh no.
Because I've had men, like I remember one specifically that I hooked up with this guy, and when we were done having sex for the first time and the only time he did this, he kissed me on the forehead. And it was so weird because it made me feel like a child in a way. And I was like, you just came inside of me and now you're kissing me on the forehead. And we weren't dating and we didn't continue to date because it felt fatherly. I didn't like it.
Ew, no. Yeah, I would not be okay with that.
I'm imagining like a forehead kiss on a first date also feels, why does that feel so parental? Like, have a good time.
It does though. It does. I think it's very, because it is very like, I don't want to say protective because it's not protective, but it's like, yeah, it is very parental.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a caring kiss instead of it being
Yes.
romantic.
Yes. Yes.
And like at the beginning, I only want hot kisses. I don't want caring kisses. I want kisses that are sexy. I don't want nursing kisses.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that would be, if I was in that situation as well, I would be out.
Yeah, I
That
think
would be not okay.
people kiss me on the head a lot, just as a general statement. Once I had a female boss kiss me on the head.
What?
Yeah, that happened at work. So I'm also short. And I think part of it is because I'm a short person. Like people will embrace me and then they'll just kiss me on the head. Like it happens more than you think. But yeah, I remember when it happened, the first time it happened at work, and I was like, what is this? I don't think you're supposed to do that.
That's so strange. What, like, can you explain what the context was? Or
Yeah,
is it just random?
sure. No, I mean, it wasn't random. So when I graduated from college in 2010 and it was a really, really bad time to graduate. Like there were no jobs because of the economy. And so I was working at a temp agency first as a temp, and then they hired me on to like be their front office coordinator. So I basically hired the temps. I was like the head of the temps, and I would help them do all their paperwork, and I would do interviews with them. And the owner of the company, there were only 4 of us total that worked there. The owner of the company was this old lady who, she was probably close to 80 years old, and this guy had like yelled at me about something that wasn't my fault and then left. And because I don't know, I think I was maybe 21, 22 years old. I was very new to like being in this professional type role. I had just had like jobs on campus and stuff before. I started crying. I was just like not able to handle this adult man yelling at me. And she felt bad, so she like came over and embraced me and she kissed me on the head. And I was like, what? You're not supposed to do that at work.
No.
And I don't think I've had any other bosses do it, but I have had random people in my life kiss me on the head more than you would think. And again, I think it's just because I'm really short. Like,
interesting.
I'm like 5'1.5". I say I'm 5'2". And I think it's just when people hug me, my head's just right there. That's my guess, because it like either on the hair or on the forehead. It happens a lot.
That's so strange. I'm 5'3". I'm not much taller,
I didn't
but
think you were tall.
no. I'm very little too. But I don't think, I mean, I have my fair share of like, forehead kisses, but I wouldn't say it's like a phenomenon. Like
It's
I
just
have
people that I don't think should be doing it. Where I'm
yeah,
like, I realize this is nice, but it's also strange.
yes, definitely.
Like in a way that a cheek kiss doesn't feel as weird to me. Like if one of my friends kissed me on the cheek,
Mm.
especially if we were out drinking and like, we were hugging each other goodbye or something,
Mhm.
that is less weird to me than if someone kissed me on the forehead.
That makes yeah, I would feel the same way.
But I still get kissed on the forehead a lot more. So I don't know.
That's so strange.
Yeah. And now that I think a lot of this was going out because now that I don't drink and I like am out at bars less,
Mhm.
for sure strange things happen to me less.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I
it's the
mean,
people at the bars that are
maybe, but just I don't know if you saw this. Just the other day I had a man freestyle in the sauna to me.
I did not see this. What?
Oh yeah, that happened like 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. I was at the gym and it was me and like two other guys in the sauna, and then this third man came in and he looked over at me and just started freestyling a verse about tattoos on her flesh and how she's so fine, I'm gonna make her mine.
Uh,
And it was actually like not a bad verse, but he looked crazy.
uh,
He had crazy eyes. He just looked like he was not in his right mind, really. That's the weirdest thing that's happened to me in sober mode, I think. Because
that
I
is
think when you're
wild.
drinking, people tend to do things like their inhibitions are lowered, right? So they're willing to be
Mhm.
more like, let me show off for you. Let me do something
That's
weird.
true.
And that doesn't happen in regular life as much. But it did
Mhm.
this week. It did in the sauna this week.
Uh, that's so that's so crazy.
It was really strange. I actually, that's what brought me back to Threads because I took that little break
Yeah.
and I was like, this is so weird. I have to post about it.
Oh my gosh. I could not imagine.
It was awkward for everyone involved. The other two guys sitting in the sauna were like, why is this happening? And yeah, I clapped at the end. I didn't know what else to do.
What else do you do? And so is this the gym sauna?
Yeah, so the gym
So you
sauna
guys
is where I've been trying to pick up men lately.
yeah.
That's it's one of my spots.
Yeah, so I guess like you're minimally closed.
Yes. Well,
You're in a
that's not,
tight space.
it's hot. Everyone's sweaty. You get an idea of what their bodies look like
Yep.
in a way that you wouldn't just in other parts of the gym or in life. But I don't know, I've had some good conversations with interesting people so far. I just haven't met like him yet. But
Yes.
I feel like if a goal of mine is to keep working out, then like the gym is a great place to meet someone, right? Because then we can do that together.
Yeah, absolutely. You already have that, that I
Like a
guess
common
hobby. Well,
interest.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Rocky wants to be interested as well.
Well, okay, Rocky. Any last words for us today?
He doesn't have anything left to say.
Rump. Well, all right, Millie. I have taken so much of your time today, but I think we had like a great conversation.
Oh, it was so wonderful to talk to you. And honestly, I think that the one thing we should all remember at the end of the day is whether you have a Valentine or not, or whether you're on any of the apps or not, life is short and we should all take the opportunities that we can to like connect with people and
Yes.
get to know each other.
Yes. And if something doesn't go your way, don't take it personally.
Absolutely.
No, life is too short. Just be
It
happy.
is too short. Yeah, but I'm so excited that you're doing this podcast. I think it's a wonderful way for you to express yourself and for you to bring
Thank
people
you.
together. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Oh, no, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm like really jazzed about the way this episode went. I wanted to change things up, and like I think we just had a very good conversation.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. I also
Yes.
haven't listened to the one that you did with Blaze yet, so I'm going to do that when we get off this
Oh,
call.
yes, that was a good one as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much, Millie.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. And thank you, Rocky.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Cup of Chocolate. If you have a story to share with us, some juicy gossip, or you want to come on the show with me and be part of the conversation, DM me at our Instagram account @MarkCupOfChocolate. This podcast is a labor of love by yours truly, but can't exist without your support and engagement. Let me know your thoughts and feedback. I'm Shoko. Join us again next week for another Cup of Chocolate.